Home of sublime landscapes, biodiversity hotspots, and a nation with a diverse cross-section of people, South Africa is a colourful and beautiful country. But we face ever-increasing environmental threats that exist across the globe.
When we think about our impact on the planet, I think most of us tend to think of smokestacks, oil and gas. And really, what we should be thinking about is our dinner plates. It's what we eat and the way that that was produced.
The practice has been that, crop production systems, because of the way farming is practiced, would lead to a reduction in natural resources, depletion of nutrients in the soil, excessive use of water resources, use of chemicals, and also excessive use of fertilizers. And this generally yields to environmental degradation.
The main problems seem to be with the way we produce our food, which is unsustainable, and the way we consume the food, leading to an unhealthy population.
Last year in the Western Cape, 5 out of 10 deaths were as a result of diet and lifestyle diseases. What we're eating, or in many impoverished communities not eating, is contributing to radically increased rates of mortality, and more disturbingly perhaps, in children we're seeing increasing rates of stunting.
Key to moving in the right direction involves a change in behavior. The way we consume our food by limiting waste, limiting overconsumption, so that there isn't anything that is referred to as waste in the food system.
Access to food and good, healthy, nutritious food is sometimes considered expensive and not easily accessible, and so there's a lot more processed foods being consumed in families, and we would really like to see that change. We'd like to see families, children, our farming education systems look at how to produce good, fantastic, healthy food for us all.
It requires a different approach where we encourage communities to be role players in the food production system rather than relying on large-scale agricultural production systems that they have no control over.
The WWF proposes 5 approaches in order for South Africa to avert the looming food crisis by 2050. The first approach is a focus on regenerative agriculture. This means that we need to start farming and give back to nature. So regenerative agriculture is a very holistic approach that ensures that we do not destroy the soils. We look after the natural resources, we take care of the water. So that is very important that we embrace that kind of farming and go beyond the minimum.
We need to have a mind shift when it comes to using water. We need to become much better custodians of our really precious and limited water resources. In 2050, we'll be feeling the full impacts of climate change, and one of the most significant impacts will be around water availability. So we need to be far more efficient and effective in the use of technology to ensure the highest levels of potential productivity off the land.
And the third one is about responsible sourcing. So this one is very important because this includes business and the whole supply chain to start recognizing those producers that have started walking the talk, those producers that have embraced good, better, and best practices, and reward them with good market access so that they can benefit and be incentivized to continue the good work. Now the fourth one is about food waste. Now in South Africa, we cannot afford to be wasting food. And sadly, this trend starts from the farm up to the fork and even in our kitchens. So we need to address that with speed. We're facing big problems of food unavailability, especially with poor communities.
And the final one is sustainable diets. And this is really a complex space. Our diets are driven by aspiration, taste, memory, cultures. It's a complex space, but it seems a huge opportunity to shifting to a world where everybody has access to enough. And that means moving towards diets that are rich in fruits and vegetables. Half the plate should be fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and much lower in the protein sources that are currently causing such a high impact on our planet, namely livestock, and that's both for meat and dairy products.
My hopes for the future is that we actually develop more of these regenerative agricultural farming practices, because not only does it work together with rebuilding the environment and the nature, but it builds resilience that we really do need in order for us to adapt into a different climate future, and more importantly, food security for those local communities. And my hope is to see more and more small and large-scale communities across the country actually adopt these types of farming practices.
South Africa is rich in biodiversity. We've got plants that you will not find anywhere else, but we've also got animals and insects that are only found here. So we need to embrace these biodiversity elements of our food system and not kill them. Biodiversity is one of South Africa's assets that we need to take care of.
If we would like to build a sustainable food system going forward in South Africa, it's important that we bring in smallholder farmers into active value chains, commercial value chains.
We need all the role players to be involved, from government, health authorities, us as retailers, the consumers specifically, and our producers. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to feed people in future.
This is a multi-dimensional problem, and solutions have to be equally interlinked and interdependent in order to transform to a system that is productive, healthy, sustainable, and functions not just for us, but for future generations.
The WWF stands ready to partner with those willing to make the necessary changes now, at scale and with speed. Our future depends on it.